Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Namofsky. The future of fertility treatment funding is today's topic. Now, Laura, before we went to commercial break, you were at your cousin's bridal baby shower, and you were talking to other women, and your question was, why have I not solved this yet?
Yeah, why have we not found better ways to pay for treatment? Why are we paying out of pocket, whether we're in the US or Canada? And certainly, while some states or provinces will help where they can, there's still a huge gap. And so that's where I really looked at insurance. I was fortunate to meet my two co-founders who were trying to solve the exact same problem. They had different stories that they brought to it, but insurance at its best is community. It's people coming together to fund one another's risk. And if we can do that for an underserved space like women's health and reproductive health, well, then we actually create financial power to have a lot of impact. And that's really how we looked at the insurance model and developed the first one around individual insurance for fertility coverage.
So, fertility insurance, is this the only one around? And how is it different from other options on the market?
So existing options in the fertility space, and there's been a lot of momentum in the past 5 years, so that's terrific across the board. But there's tended to be loans and financing, better than a credit card if you get a lower interest loan. But that said, it still costs you a significant amount. On the insurance side, it has tended to focus on group benefits for Fortune 500 companies. So great if you work for a Google or an RBC, but most of us don't, or we want to move jobs. And so we have this gap that 60 to 80% of people have no coverage. There has never been a private coverage around fertility insurance. And that is what we've developed. We've had to develop the individual risk models in order to give women as the primary policyholders the ability to own their reproductive health outcomes, no matter where they live or where they work. And so we're the first in creating this that really makes it accessible for everyone.
So, you've coined this positive impact insurance. What exactly does that mean?
Well, I think insurance gets a bad rap. And I have to tell you, when I worked for a large insurance company, that's when I fell in love with all the applications for insurance. But we tend to focus on life insurance, death, disability, critical illness, all very important to cover for those risks, but they can be very hard to acquire customers, especially at early ages, to those products. So we're really looking at a positive impact, something that's positively impacting your life, and you're willing to fund it. And it's actually in some ways similar to pet insurance. People pay out of pocket for pet insurance because they really care for that ability to have their fur baby and whatnot. We're really helping people build their families, and that's something that's in the more near future than thinking about something more catastrophic like death and disability.
People typically don't think about fertility until they want to have a baby, until they want to start this family. Are young women concerned about their future fertility now?
There has been a huge shift. If you talk to young women in their, let's say, late 20s, 30s, it is one of the hottest topics. So we've done a lot of research with this. We worked with a very large global women's health app. They're reaching women of reproductive health age who have, most of them have yet to have kids. And what we found was that 50% of their users were concerned about their future fertility and looking for solutions. And so it says that this is a tipping point. We need to develop solutions. And the World Health Organization has labeled infertility a global health issue in need of new mechanisms of funding. So if you can't afford to buy a home in your 20s, and most of us can't, you really can't afford to build a family in many cases. And that's why we're seeing this delay in having kids, but it's increasing the chances of infertility. And so a lot of women, couples, families are looking to add some security around that journey.
So, why has this never been done before? It seems like one of those things that, you can't believe hasn't already existed, especially amongst all the other insurance products.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's really about building the individual risk models. So, insurance companies often rely on insurtechs to create new models, to build the data sets. They do have a ton of data again on death and disability and mortality tables. But when it comes to a new insurance class, that's where insurtechs like us step in. So we have spent the past 18 plus months building out those risk models, the risk data sets, looking at public and private coverage. And I'll really give a shout out to my two co-founders, Dr. Christy Lane, Stanford medical prof, was one of the first to look at wearables and how we use them for lifestyle, for underwriting, for life insurance. She's been studying fertility going back 20 years. And then my
Okay,
other co-founder, Somil Jain, a chief actuary at some big insurance companies.
Laura, hold that thought. We'll be right back.